Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Business Minds broadcast tonight. We've had a little technical difficulty, but we're not gonna let that stop us. We have a wonderful guest tonight that is going to be extremely informative, and you're gonna learn some things. We've talked about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurship when the entrepreneur has sort of a different platform than someone starting from scratch and starting a business from scratch. So Robert is going to enlighten us about all of that tonight, and Chris is going to monitor our chat room. So if you have any questions that you want to ask, you can post them to the chat room, and we'll get back to you. So Robert, we're taking it to you now. You want to give us a brief introduction of who you are, what you do, some background about you, and then we're going to talk about how you got involved in business and in the Modern Woodsman. I don't want to ruin your introduction.
Absolutely, no problem at all. Thank you all for having me on. My name, as Brenda mentioned, is Robert Sheets. I am a financial advisor and a life insurance expert with Modern Woodmen of America. I've been with Woodmen for almost 2 years, right at 2 years. I've been doing a lot of training and a lot of studying and that kind of thing to perfect my craft. But that's what I do. It's been a lifelong challenge and a lifelong situation to be where I am today. So happy to be here with you guys today.
Okay, one of the first questions I want to ask you is because there's so many different types of products on the market in the area of insurance. How was it that you came to choose Modern Woodman over everything else that exists in the marketplace?
So one of the things that struck me about Modern Woodman has been around for 138 years. That was intriguing to me. And number two, you can't just fill out an application and work for Woodman. You have to be recommended by someone that is within the company, that works for the company. They've got to recommend you. Once you're recommended, they generally reach out to a regional director, and that regional director will get in contact with you, schedule an interview on the phone, generally talk with you for a while, and then invite you to come and visit, sit and talk, and then invite your wife to come and visit and sit and talk, and then take you out to dinner. And that starts the courtship. And so for me, specifically, there are some people that are, short, a little shorter period of time, but most others are even longer. It took me 6 months to be selected to be a part of Woodman because they're very concerned about who you are, your character, and that kind of thing. They talk to your neighbors, they talk to your church people, that kind of thing. They really are looking for people that are about relationship. And so that really, really struck me. I'd never heard of or been involved with a company that was that concerned about the clientele, that they would take 6 months, up to 6 months to, spend time with you and find out who you are. So that's really what struck me. I had other opportunities, and I sold insurance in the 80s, in the late 80s. And it was just something that I really was interested in. And my why formulated out of some of the things that I dealt with back then. And so I just thought Woodman was a great opportunity, much better than the other ones that I, had an opportunity to spend some time with.
Mm-hmm. So tell me this: what is the difference between? Is this like a franchise that you have with them, and you're sort of a franchise owner? I'm very impressed with their background check and their method of getting you into the organization that is done through. We talk all the time on here about building relationships and how important that is. But I think if you're going to be the face of any of these companies, you have to be able to build relationships to get those to continue. So tell me about what is different between what you do and buying a franchise, say with Allstate.
Okay, so I had an opportunity to sit in and spend some time with some Allstate people as well as some State Farm people, and the downside, I'll put it this way. Now I know some people that have been very successful, but the downside for me was the fact that you've got to come up with a lot of money in order to get the franchise started.
That's a good point.
With Woodman, I paid for my license, and that was it. Another thing that's so critical to me is this ongoing training. As I mentioned, I've been with Woodman almost 2 years, and I've been training, rigorously training for all of those 2 years,
Okay.
almost 2 years. And that to me, I'd heard some other people that, went to work for some other companies and started a franchise or whatever, and they didn't get a whole lot of training. They did spend a whole lot of money, and a lot of them had their 401ks and all of that tied to this business. And if the business fails, you fail, financially. That's the way I looked at it. With Woodman, if I decide that I don't want to work for Woodman anymore, I walk away tomorrow and I don't owe Woodman a penny, And so, like I said, that was very important to me as well. Just taking stock in their people. I will be fully vested, and Woodman still provides pension, which most companies do not. I'll be fully vested in 5 years and can draw pension in 5 years.
Wow.
So that was something also that was very important to me. And this flexibility. I mean, you asked about a franchise. To a certain degree, it's a franchise, but I'm actually a W-2 employee. I'm a W-2, and I forget the other term. Please forgive me. But it's kind of like 50-50 kind of deal. I work for Woodman, but I work for myself. And I forget that term, so I apologize. If it comes to me, I'll bring it up. But I'm a W-2 employee with Woodman, but I have an office that I pay for, and Woodman provides all of the stuff that I need. I'll give you a classic example. We did a teacher appreciation. I've been doing teacher appreciation all week at about 6 high schools in the local area. I ordered about 600 flyers. I ordered right at 1,000 business cards and a bunch of other information. Didn't cost me a penny.
Oh, wow.
Whereas a lot of the other, big box companies, I'll put it that way, you pay for everything. And so these were things that were very important to me, the flexibility to be able to choose this company. And that's why I chose Woodman.
Oh, okay. So I understand that when you're in your own business, as I've been for a number of years, you really have to be disciplined. So can you give us an idea of what your day would look like, starting on a typical day in the morning? What does your day look like?
So that is, you are so correct. You have to be disciplined. And I honestly, to be honest, I really didn't know if I could do it, because I've been in manufacturing for over 30 years. And in manufacturing, things are a lot different. You've got these walls and these boundaries, and you got to stay within those walls and those boundaries. But to work a job where you're an entrepreneur and where you're starting your own business, and there's really no walls, that anybody's holding up for you, you've got to figure it out. And so really, really difficult for me. So when I first started out, I wanted initially to have an office right away. A lot of new agents don't get an office because that's an additional cost. And, they usually partner with the regional director. They go to his office and they work out of his office. I decided very quickly that I needed an office to go to, because to me, I also tried working from home. I have to physically, I've done it for over 30, 35 years. I have to physically get up in the morning, get dressed, and go somewhere. That's the first part of my discipline. That's what I have to do. I have to physically be getting up to go somewhere.
Yeah.
And in order to maintain files and in order to see clients and that kind of thing, I didn't want to do that at a coffee shop. I wanted my own office. So about 2 months, maybe 3 months in, I looked and I found and I rented an office that I felt like would be perfect for me. And it has been all of this time. So my day starts out with me getting up in the morning. And of course, I do my devotionals and that kind of thing. And I get dressed and I go off to my office. I get to my office and I've already created what's called a today's plan the night before. So I have my day kind of lined out, what I plan to do, what's on my schedule to do for that day, and I start executing to that plan. Now, of course, you being a business owner, There are always going to be fires that you have to put out that aren't on that today's plan. But I try to execute to the today's plan, and generally that starts out. I usually have some chamber meetings or that kind of thing. Generally early in the morning, master networks meetings, BNI or whatever. First thing in the morning, usually around 9 or so. And then I go and I look at all my pending files and look at all of the things that I did the day before and try to figure out who I need to, to work on first. So I do those things, and then I get out as quickly as I can. I, deal with my emails and that kind of thing. But I try to get out into the community as quickly as I can and prospect. Now, prospecting for me is kind of interesting because you mentioned building relationships. Woodman's motto is to impact through relationship. And so my job is to go out and build relationships with people. And I generally do not say anything about business or what I do unless somebody asks me. Okay. I'm just there to try to build a relationship. We are what's called a fraternal financial organization. And basically what that means is we're all about the community. We gave about $56 million back into the local communities last year by way of scholarships and through nonprofit. We are so committed to doing nonprofit work. And so that entails building relationships and helping people out. And we found that when you build these relationships and you help people out and you do the things for people that they really, really need, then they're more than willing to do business with you on the back end. And so my day is involved with, like I said, chamber events, having lunches and coffees with people just to kind of find out who they are, what they do, how I can help, in any way. Rotary and those types of things, any type of nonprofit organization we want to get involved with, and we want to figure out how we can help. And so my day is filled with that. Now, of course, there are clients that I have, members, we call them, that, have things that they need me to do. And so I get in contact with them, spend time with them, organize their accounts, whatever it is that they need to do. And then, of course, I meet with new clients on a regular basis and do presentations and kind of explain what I do. To them. So my day is filled with building relationships with people that I'm just learning, just meeting, maintaining relationships with people that I already know. That's basically the crux of my day.
You mentioned and you have your day organized really well. I have these things that I call rabbit holes that I end up, sometimes I'll start out, I'll look at an email, and then I was like, I wonder where that person is talking about. Then next thing I've looked at another email and looked at another, and then I check the Facebook to see. How do you keep from ending up in those rabbit holes? And sometimes they're actually things that might lead to business, but not necessarily so. So you don't want to just totally neglect them. So how do you make the decision on whether this is something you need to follow up with or cut it off right now so you can do other things?
Well, I've tried a number of different things. There's a system. We sat in on some training with a guy who helps us to plan. And one of the things that he told us was you need to create a grid. And on this grid, you need to decide, is this urgent? Is it urgent, but not necessary? Is it? And I tried to work that grid for a minute. But what I try to do is I try never to put meetings back to back, time with people back to back. I've made up my mind that I'm going to work hard and I'm going to do what I can, to the best of my ability for my members. But in order to do that, I've got to have some space and some time in between appointments. So I try not to ever have, if I know my appointments are going to run about an hour, I try never to have a 4 o'clock and a 5 o'clock and a 6 o'clock. I try never to do that. I try to always leave an hour in between appointments. That way, in the event that I run long or in the event that something comes up, I want to try to manage that in between. So that's one of the things that I do. Rabbit holes, I think that's really, really interesting, that term. I had some what we call orphan clients. These are clients who, for whatever reason, their servicing agent is no longer with the company, has moved to a different region, or maybe they've moved. And so maybe they were in Missouri and they moved to Dallas and they don't have a servicing agent. And so we call those orphan clients. And I reach out to them on a regular basis to try to make sure that, now you're in Dallas. We want to make sure that you have a servicing agent. And sometimes you get in contact with people that haven't talked to somebody in a little while, and they have a lot to say, or they have a lot of issues or a lot of problems. And that's a rabbit hole for me. And so I try to schedule those rabbit holes if I can on specific days of the week. That way I can try to maintain them. But there's always some rabbit hole that you have to try to go down or whatever. And then there's some, like you said, that we create for ourselves as
Yes.
well. But I try to manage that by leaving enough time in between appointments that I can do those things and still be effective on the back end with other appointments as well.
Oh, okay. That's great because it's so easy. I like that grid. I use one similar to that. What things are urgent? What things
Right,
are going to
right,
make you money right away? What things are
right,
going to be future leads that you can put in your pipeline
right.
and have for another day. Now, let me ask you this. Chris and I have been talking a lot lately about work-life balance
Hmm.
because with an entrepreneur, it is definitely an issue.
Right.
That where do you cut off your work day? Do you go home and talk about it? And I happen to know that you're married to an entrepreneur as well, which
That's
is a
correct.
unique challenge in itself. So
That's
how do
correct.
you all find work-life balance?
Well, I will say that I'm a little better at it than she is. She's a harder worker, I guess I could say, than I am. I've always been this way. When I leave work, so if I get off at 5, I usually leave work about 4:30 in my mind. And on my way home, there is no thought in my mind for the most part about what's going on at work. It's about what's getting ready to go on at home. And so I'm blessed in that I'm able to do that, and vice versa. I don't think about work until I'm about 2 or 3 minutes from the job, from my office. That's when it clicks in. Okay, it's work time. So I really don't have an issue with work-life balance. I've got the ability to turn it on and turn it off. I seldom ever do work at home. Every now and then I have some things that I need to do, or I'll get a call, a late call, or whatever. But I try to cut it all off. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, just depending on the circumstance. And when it's done, it's done. You know. Now, being two entrepreneurs, one of the things that's kind of interesting about my wife, the entrepreneur, she primarily works from home now. She, during the pandemic, she gave up her office, and so we have converted a portion of the house. I didn't say a portion of a room. I said a portion of the house to accommodate her office. And so as a result of that, her office is really nice, but she's at home by herself. And so when I get home, there are so many things that have occurred throughout the course of the day that she just wants to run by me. And so I have no issue with that. And so we talk about things and we go on. Now I have a friend who I used to work with, and he retired. He and his wife worked at the same place, and he retired. And what he told her when she came home, he said, "Look, I am so interested in your day, but I'm only interested in it for the next 30 minutes. So let me hear everything that happened for 30 minutes and no more." And so I think that, we work well together. When I have things that I need to do, she can find things that she needs to do as far as work is concerned. She runs the whole business by herself. And so she has a whole lot more, to do. I have a whole lot more resources with what I do than she does. And so there are some minor things that I'm able to help her on. I'm not as smart as she is. And so I can't run her business. But there are some menial tasks that I can take on. And so we really don't have a problem. Now we have in the future, initially, when I'm finished working, my expectation is that everybody's finished working. And so it's time to take a walk, or it's time to talk about, what we're gonna fix for dinner, or whatever the case. But I've learned over time that in order to be successful, you got to be able to answer the call, and you got to be able to take care of business. And sometimes the whole day is full of rabbit holes, and as a result, you've got to do some work after you finish with the rabbit holes. And
Hmm.
so I've learned to be a whole lot more accepting of the fact, especially since she's running the business by herself.
Hmm.
So I've learned to be more accommodating and more accepting of the fact that it takes a lot to do what she does. I know that I can't do it, and so I try to support her as best I can.
Yeah, I love the idea that you said your friend has about you can tell me anything you want to, but keep it in 30 minutes.
Right.
Even if you gave a little bit more time than that, I think it's very helpful with your spouse, whether they're working for themselves or someone else, to just have a little bit of time to debrief from your job, but put
Right.
some boundaries around it. To
Right.
say, we can talk about this. I'm going to try that and see how it works. I don't want to hear
It's tough.
about church other
Right.
than this in this 30
You
this
got
30
30
minute
minutes. You tell me
thing.
everything that happened today
Everything you
that's
know.
so incredible to you, but you got to do it in 30 minutes.
Yeah, because sometimes, as an entrepreneur, sometimes you have some things that are so terribly exciting that
Right.
you want to share them with somebody.
Right.
And your audience, when both of you entrepreneurs, your audience is limited
Right.
to,
Right.
if I got to tell anybody, it's got to be my spouse because he's going to be the person there that can hear that. But that's good to know that you have some boundaries around that. Now, I have a question.
Okay.
If you were talking to someone who was interested
Mhm.
in becoming an entrepreneur with Modern Woodsman, what would be the advice that you would give them? Say they're right out of high school or right out of college. What's some advice that you could give them to help them build to the point that they would be an acceptable candidate to Modern Woodsman?
Well, Woodman, we target young kids that are right out of college, and I'm not sure what the exact reason for that is, but I will say this: I think it's smart, and one of the reasons that I do is because one of the things that I did, one of the costs I'll say that I did not calculate was the fact that when you start your own business, there's a huge expense associated with that. And the flip side of that is when you come out of corporate America, let's say you've got a six-figure salary and you decide that you want to run your own business and be an entrepreneur. Well, that six-figure salary is gone, right? And so not only are you not making six figures anymore, now you're spending about three or four figures, and so that's one of the things that I definitely would tell somebody that was new to Woodman. And I also would let them know that there are going to be ebbs and flows. And initially, there's going to be more ebbs. And you need to be prepared for that. I would tell them that they need to, this is just my own personal thing, you need to be strong in your faith because you're going to come in contact with people who care less about the fact that you have your own business and they could care less about the fact that you're alive. And so some of the things that they say are not going to be pleasant. You might even make a mistake and upset somebody. And so you need to understand that there are ebbs and flows in business, and you have to act accordingly. And the last thing that I would say is that you need to understand that when you work for somebody, you work 8 hours, 9 hours, 10, whatever the case may be. When you work for yourself, you're always at work. And so you can't say that I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to start a business, and I'm going to work 6 hours a day. Well, you probably won't have a very effective or efficient business. And so there's a lot involved, and you need to be prepared for that as well. So those are three things that I would tell them. I'm certain that there are some more, but those are three that I consider to be crucial in starting a business and being an entrepreneur.
So, do you think it's feasible to have a business and work at the same time in your particular area? Would you suggest that if you go into it, you have to quit your job and do that?
Well, I think it depends on the person. I can remember, much younger, in my 30s, early 40s. I had businesses, on the side is what we used to call it. I worked a full-time job and I had a business on the side. And it's definitely doable. You definitely can do it, but you got to be committed, and you
Mhm.
have to know who you are. And if you know that you're not the type of person that's able or capable or willing to work 16, 18 hours a day, then it doesn't make sense to set yourself up for that. But
Mhm.
if you feel like you can do it, you can hammer it out, then absolutely. I encourage my children, who are some of them interested in starting businesses or whatever. And what I tell them is, if you're going to start a business, you're going to run your family, you have to have, excuse me, money to run your family. So you need to
Mhm.
stay on your full-time job. Stay on your full-time job and build your business. And when your income from your business surpasses the income from your full-time job for a couple of years, then you're ready to move into running your business full-time. And so, but you have other things you got to consider. You get that group life insurance and health insurance and all of that at work, and it's dirt cheap. Well, it's not dirt cheap for, those of us who are out here as entrepreneurs. So there's a lot of things that you have to consider. And, I like that term, counting the cost. There's a big cost to being an entrepreneur, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially. There's a big cost. And so you have to be prepared for that.
Yeah. And I know that's especially true if you are the chief provider for your family.
Absolutely.
It might start out better as a side hustle. Um, do you know whether or not you all encourage the side hustle, or you're looking for full-time employees? I mean, full-time agents to do that.
Woodman encourages you to be a full-time agent. When you're not working, you can be studying. Because not only do you have to have your general lines, which is your insurance license, but you also at some point early on need your Series 6, your Series 63, and or your Series 7. Those all take quite a bit of time, quite a bit of study, and are difficult to pass. And so you really need to devote all of your time initially to being involved in just Woodman. And so that's generally but everybody understands that if you're studying and you're working and you're not making any money, then, you have to have some way to support yourself. And that's why I say I think it's really cool that they target a lot of young kids straight out of college, because they're used to being broke. And so no big deal. Another year of being broke, no big deal. So,
do you think you were at an advantage because you were sort of a subject matter expert even before you got into this area, that you knew the
absolutely.
business?
Absolutely. I had done it before, number one. And as I mentioned, I worked in manufacturing for over 30 years, so I had a strong work ethic. And I think that's one of the reasons that they hired me at my age, was because I'm a team player. And hopefully others could see this team player in me and want to emulate that as well. So I think I definitely had an advantage over some of the newer reps that come in or whatever. And so I just try to encourage them and try to motivate them and keep them going.
Okay. Well, it has been a pleasure to interview you today, to have you talk. We'd like to have you back on at another time in the future, where we can have both you and your wife talk about the challenges of being dual entrepreneurs, and how that works in your household. Are there any parting comments that you would like to share with your audience? Give any information about your business, or how to contact you if they were interested in any of the products that you all have, or interested in perhaps being following in your footsteps to be a part of that business?
Okay. I would. I appreciate that opportunity. The first thing that I'd like to say is I really want to thank you all for the show. And I want to thank you for this discussion about being an entrepreneur. It's so easy to say, I'm just going to go work for somebody. I'm going to work for somebody for the rest of my life. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I want to also say that there are opportunities for you if you want to be an entrepreneur. I have a friend who is an air traffic controller, and he controlled in a Learjet, a wealthy guy's jet one time. And he said he thought to himself, if I continue to work for somebody, I'll never have a jet. And so it's just that mindset that you can do more than just work for somebody. But mind you, there's nothing wrong with working for somebody. The majority of the people I know, they were raised by somebody that worked for somebody. But there's also nothing wrong with having your own business as well. Maybe it's a side business. Maybe it's what you do full time. But look into the opportunity to have a business that you can make generational. You can turn that business over to your children. They can continue to run that business. And this is your business. This is your family's business, and it'll last forever, right? If I can be of any service to you, please reach out. My phone number is 214-407-2267. Once again, my name is Robert Sheets, and I'm with Modern Woodmen of America. You can reach me by email at robert.k.sheets, SHEETS, at MWAREP.org. That stands for Modern Woodmen of America Rep, MWAREP.org. Love to help you. Don't sign up for anything that you don't know what it is. If you have any comments, you have any questions, you have a need to just understand what it is that you have or what you need, let me know. It's a travesty to live a life that you've worked 40 and 50 years and you retire and you run out of money before you die. Let me help you with that. Let me show you what you need. Let me show you what insurance products life insurance products you and your family need. Be happy to help you. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you.
Okay, and they're running your information across the screen now. So if anyone wants to contact Robert, there's that information. Or you can just email us at Business Minds, and we'll be able to give you that information. Thank you again so much for being with us this evening.
My
And we're
pleasure.
looking forward to you coming back.
Sounds good. I'd love that.
All right, have a great evening.
You do the same. Thank you so much.
Thank you.